Who said in 2000, 5 years ago, who said poor record keeping attracts corruption like flies to a carcass? The Auditor General of Australia, another democracy. At the Digital Archives in 2005, after we opened it, we had international visitors, Singapore, Australia, 2 delegations from China in 2005 and 6. And we were having a discussion about records management. The difficulty, they were talking earlier about this old felony punishment. 10 years in jail for destroying, altering, mutilating a public record. Why did your great-grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers endorse such a harsh punishment for the destruction of a public record? Because that is one of the main reasons we fought the revolution. The British did not give us access to public records. Oh, if you want to see them, you can get on the boat and go to London. And if you check in the London Tower, where they keep public records and other bodies, you might get a chance to see them. They mentioned that in their grievances about King George. And if you look at the history of the United States from its founding, you will find hundreds and hundreds of battles over public records. And the difficulty in keeping public records is to preserve them. How do you preserve anything? How many of you have a photograph of your grandparents in your house? Yeah, you're trying to preserve it, to pass it on. Hang it up on the wall in the sun and watch it disappear. It's a war. If it's color photographed from the Polaroids, it will turn yellow and green in just a matter of a few years. And then it will be a test. You can put it in your will. If your great-great-grandchildren will hang that on the wall. Everything, when it comes to preservation, is a war. You have to think about it, you have to plan it, and you have to carry it out. And I'm going to have you witness something on television that you probably have never seen a journalist do in public. And that's a pretty wide range. But I'm going to ask Frank to come up here, and this is a book from the early 1900s. It's a real book. It is not I didn't set this up with you, did I, Frank? No. Okay. And this is a book, and it's a book you probably could check out at the library. Patients can help you with it. It's called Married at Last. And since I got married 2 months ago, I thought this is a good book to pick on. And it's a typical, what we call very exciting reading. And I'll have Frank, I'm going to ask Frank to tear a page out of this book. Now, I wouldn't ask patients to do this, but I would ask patients to rip up a newspaper. But I'm going to ask Frank to do the book. Okay? Okay, so Frank, you just want to just pick out a page and tear it off. I know. Tear one out. Do it easy so I can put it back together. Yeah. Patience is watching. I told you, not early 1900s, 1905. It's worth millions. I collect more. All right. We witnessed, he destroyed a book. What's the fine for destroying a book?
It's a felony.
10 years in prison. Okay. If you will come here, Beatrice, said Walter, I will show you where we killed that famous day last winter when you rode with me, etc., etc. This is a piece of paper that is going into little tiny pieces, just like that. Even if you put it on the shelf in air conditioning, low humidity, low temperature, the paper is going to disintegrate. So when I say it's a war to preserve records for access for generations, it is. And what Tim didn't tell you, the best part of what that Olympia email thing, of course they didn't think they were public records, but what happened? What's the aftermath of finding people emailing and talking about voting while the public is at the meeting? One of the comments that one of the former councilmen made, they had an election in November, what kind of idiot is that guy up here testifying? And so, these people in the audience, they're just made very derogatory comments about the people who came to the council meeting. Two of those people were not reelected in November. And that's why I say your attendance and participation in democracy is what makes it work. In China, when the Chinese were here, I talked about the difficulty we have. We talked about education. We educate 5,000 people in the last 2 years about the importance of records management. Poor record keeping attracts corruption, guaranteed. He said, his reply to me was, I am surprised to find out the difficulties that you have with getting people to cooperate with record laws in the United States. Because in China, we have 100% compliance. Now, how do you respond to that? This is a diplomatic moment. I said, I think I am going to borrow some of your experience in the state of Washington, and I am going to change my title. Instead of being the state archivist, I'm going to change it to the Director General Archivist of Washington, which was his title. He was the Director General. You get a little more compliance when you have that kind of a title. The other thing I want to talk to you about the importance of this, what Frank represents, the journalism focus, is very important. In 1997, I was asked by the State Department to go to Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is a country between Russia and China. They have huge deposits of oil. They're north of Afghanistan and Iraq and Kyrgyzstan and all of those areas. I spent one afternoon talking to journalists, lawyers, radio, and TV people, trying to convince them how important it is to go do research in your National Archives.